Thrive WP here, looking at the Breakdance Builder, and I'm going to be looking at the global kind of settings to start with. But what I firstly need to do is just build just a basic page. I'm just going to use our home page for now, just so we've got a bit of info to have a look at whilst we're doing the global settings, essentially. So let's have a look. So I'm going to add a heading, and I'm going to set that one to H1, and I'll duplicate this, set that to H2, duplicate that, set that to H3, duplicate that, set that to H4, and I mean, this is what there is a video the Breakdance did that was similar to this, so it's, you know, it's not you may have already seen it. And then I'm going to add, let's have a look, so we'll add a button, and we'll add some normal text, and we'll add an image. What else can we add? An icon. That's cool. So let's just choose our image. Let's just choose that one for now, and then we will make that smaller. So let's just make that like 50% or 25. Let's just make it small enough so we can see what's going on. And then if we click in the section and we go to layout, we'll center everything, and then we'll give a gap of 20 pixels. So that gives everything a nice spacing. So we'll save that. Okay, now we can look at the global settings. So when you're building out a site, it's really important that you use global settings and you don't style each individual element. So say you've got your headings and you think, right, okay, I want my H1 to be, you know, so-and-so size. So I'll go to typography, I'll do this, I'll change the colours, change the font, so on. Then you'll do, that basically has only done it for that one heading. So then you're having to do it every single time you add a heading, or you're copying styles and pasting them. But it's so much quicker as a workflow to use global settings. So it really is important to kind of get used to global settings and how to set them and use them, because it just helps make the workflow of building a site much quicker, and it's kind of best practice, really. So you click on these three dots up here, and you've got a few different options, but we'll look at global settings. Okay, and so you've then got colors, buttons, typography, forms, containers, code, and other. So you can have settings for all those different things. So first of all, we're looking at colors. So you want to set like your main brand color, your text color, your headings color, and things like that. Okay, and then you've got your links colors. You've got your background colors. You can set the background colors for your whole thing, and then you've got a palette. So obviously these are just the defaults, but then if you want to add more colors, you've got a palette which you can click edit and add more colors to that. Okay, and what that means is, so if you notice, the colors in the palette are green and this lighter purple. So if we want to change a color of something, again, we wouldn't be doing this on text, we'd be using globals, but anywhere you're choosing a color, you'll see you've got your default colours, and then you've got your palette colours in there as well. So it's all in there, okay, for you to use. So that's your global colours. So once you've added all the colours you need to build your site out, they're there to use straight away, which is great. So let's just close that up. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, which I should have done beforehand, is just shush everything, because it's just going to interrupt us. I should have done that before, but hey. Right, so then you've got your buttons. So again, at the moment you can see we've got a button in our header, and we've also got one here, and that is a primary button. The great thing about Breakdance is you get an option to have two types of buttons. You've got primary and secondary, and that's really good, whereas Elementor, which is what I come from using many years, you only get kind of one global option for buttons, so it's brilliant that you get two. So if I click on this button now, okay, and I can choose, if I remember, yep, in stylings and then buttons, you can choose whether this is a primary button or a secondary button. So you can see as soon as I change it to secondary, it changes to our secondary colours. And you've got custom, where you can set everything customized, or you can just have it as a link. So it's a button, but it's a link. I'm going to leave that one as primary for now. So if we click on primary, you can see we've got our background colour here. Okay. If we click on the little icon here, you can then edit the hover colour. So I'm now editing the hover style, so I can make that maybe, we'll just make it a bit lighter, I think. So we'll go like that. We'll turn off the hover. So what would be really nice in Breakdance, because I actually didn't realise this, is that these icons are here all the time. Because without that, I was kind of sat here thinking, well, where do I set the hover? Where do I change the hover? I went for effects, I went to different places. So I think as a user interface thing, it would be really useful that those are there all the time, so we know that there's actually something there to click. So unless I hover, I wouldn't know that's there. But now that I've changed the hover colour, you can see as soon as I hover the button, okay, that that colour changes on the background. Alright, and again similarly we can work with our secondary button stuff. So if I change this to secondary now, okay, we can change the background. So maybe I want the background to be more of a white, and we want the colour of our border to be our brand colour. And as you can see, the text takes on the same colour as well. So if we set it to green, the text takes on that same colour. Okay, and again we need to check the hover, because if you notice when we're hovering, our text is disappearing. So maybe we want the background to change to the lighter purple, and then we can see our text when we hover over, and that's how we can do that. So we've now got a secondary button set up, and then we've got our primary button set up. And again, if you look, so where you've got custom and text, so you've got options in your buttons where you can set it to square, round, and custom. And custom, as it says here as well, is where you can then customize it directly on that button, but we're using the global styles. However, custom over here means you can set your own border radius. So maybe I want a border radius of, I don't know, 10. And then you can set your effects and icons and stuff in there. Okay, but I'm going to keep mine rounded for now. Actually, looks like that might be a bit of a bug, because I'm setting it to round, but it's still pulling in the custom radius. So there we go, so we're back to round. And that's it for the buttons. That's the global style. So every time I add a button now, no matter where, so if I want to duplicate this when I have two buttons, but I want this one to be the secondary styling, then I can do that. So then I've got two buttons. All I've done is add the button. I haven't had to style each one individually, it's just pulling from the global settings, which is really great. So again, we're going for heading font now. Let's just go for, I don't know, Roboto Slab or something for headings. So you can see all our headings now change. Okay, and then we're going to go for body font. So this text here, let's just say we'll go for, I don't know, let's go for pop-ins or something. You can see that's now changed, and our menu's also changed. And you can see they're both taking on the colour from our global colours. So the headings, if I change the headings colour now to like a red colour, you see all headings across the site change. And the same for our text. So if we want to change our text to, I don't know, let's say blue colour, then all our text across the site changes. Okay, so that's why global settings are really great, because when you're building out pages, you can literally just add a header, add some text, fill in the actual text you need. You don't have to style in each individual element, it'll just pull in from your styling. So again, I'm just going to make those a bit darker again, and our headings, I want almost black but not quite, so maybe that. So yeah, that's that. We've done our typography. Now the good thing is about the typography is the base size and the ratio. So because we're working with responsive stuff, you know, you might go to mobile and find that this is a bit too big, but then instead of like when you're building a page out, you're going, oh, okay, for mobile I'll change this one and this one. You can set it globally so you don't have to fiddle with it ever again. So you can set base size to say maybe 16 pixels, so you're basically saying the basic size for our text is 16 pixels, and then you scale everything on a ratio. So obviously 1, everything's the same, all 16 pixels. And then you basically change the ratio to fit what you like, basically, for desktop and other devices. So I kind of like maybe about 1.3 looks about right. So our H1s are that size, H2, so on and so forth. So I quite like that, 1.3. But if we then go to phone, you can see that just isn't right, it's too big. So we can say, I don't know, maybe on phone it's like 1.2. Well, that kind of looks alright. Maybe 1.25. No, we'll keep it to 1.2. So you can see then, it scales straight away. So desktop, it's a nice size. We could probably get away with 3.5 on desktop. Depends how, I mean, if you want to go big with your headings, then fine, you know. But obviously as you change, the scaling of it changes with the ratio. So that's a really cool feature, because you don't have to worry about your headings being the wrong size for any device or setting it each time you create a new page. It's all done. You set it here once and that's it. And then that's what the global settings are. It's kind of set it all once, and then you can build out your pages without having to worry about size of font, the colours, the hover effect, all of that kind of stuff is all done, and that's it. And then obviously if you want to change it later on down the line, that's really easy, because you then don't have to go into each individual page and style each individual element. You can just change your global settings. So maybe at some point I go, do you know what, I want something different for my headings. So I'll change the font, and then across your whole site all your headings change. And it makes life so much easier. You've got some advanced settings here, so I think you've got some more kind of stuff tailored to body content, headings, links and so on. Generally I would just use these. And then again you've got presets. So if you've got typography presets, which I think you can add in the back end, you can add those as well. So you can add like custom fonts. So I think you're probably getting the idea of global settings now. So similarly with forms, so I haven't actually got a form here, so let's add a form. And what I think is really great as well is you've got login forms, registration forms, we've got password forms. So you've got lots of other forms you can use here, which is brilliant. So let's just go for a contact form, or the form builder, shall I say. And again, that's your form. The button is taking in from our button globals, which is great. Okay, and then so the form fields, you can then start styling out for your form field. So we'll change the field to that colour, which is horrendous, but you know, you get the idea. You can then set some borders maybe, so you want border width of like 3. Obviously you don't have to, but you can. It's like 2 or way too big. And the colour of that as well. Okay, and then you can kind of decide, so if you want border top to be like 3, you can see then that you've got that border at the top. Okay, and you can, I think that's then, yeah, all borders. So you've got all borders, which is 1, and then your top you can change to 3. So then that's kind of, you know, a bit of a styling thing if you want to do that. You can add some shadows and so forth. So again, that's, you know, that would apply to all types of forms across your site, whether it's a login form. So actually I'll just add a login form as well. So you kind of see that styling changing. So as you can see, you've got the background for that. So let's just see. So the submit button, we can decide we'll have it center. So again, regardless of form, that will take on that. You can set it to full width. So as you can see, you get this real nice uniformity across all of your site, and it makes for a better site really, because everything is consistent. Whereas sometimes when you're building with Elementor, you can set global stuff to a certain extent, but you tend to find a lot of people don't use the globals, and they're just kind of styling individual elements, and everything gets a little bit disjointed across the site. So containers, I think with a container, so where we set the gap here in this container initially, we set it to 20 pixels. I believe this would do it globally, or maybe not. Sections, container width, vertical padding, horizontal padding. Okay, so we can set a section container width and the vertical padding of 100 pixels, I guess. So then if you see, the container now has 100 pixels at the top, 100 pixels at the bottom, which is great. And then again, horizontal padding, you know, I could say 500, and then it squeezes it all into the middle. 200. So yeah, you've got padding 200 either side, and you can say that would be globally. So every time you add a section, it would be like that. So I'm going to remove that, but I'll keep the vertical padding. And then container width, again, you can use that to kind of style, you know, the width of that rather than using horizontal padding. But I'm going to leave that one for now. So yeah, column gap, I'm not too sure. I think it might be if you're adding more divs or columns in. So if we add a column in above this form, let's just say we've got 3. I think, so if I put them 50 pixels, yeah, so it's the gap for columns or extra divs that you put in, I think. I don't know if it would work with div. Should we have a look? Because div is like an unstyled element, so I don't know if that would necessarily work or not. So let's just save that a moment. Let's add another div. Oh, where's that gone? Okay, let's just duplicate that one, and then let's find our divs. Div. What I want to do is put all these divs in there. So then that div, we're going to have a layout, align, center, horizontal, center. So we've now got our essentially what is columns. So if we then went back to global sections, yeah, so it doesn't change the div gap, just the columns, which is fine. That's useful. And then code, so you can add a style sheet, you can add custom JavaScript and so on, and then other transition duration. So I presume that would be any transition across the site. So just trying to think. Yeah, so if I can't actually click the header, yeah, I guess it would be transition across the whole site globally. So that pretty much is your global settings. So as you can see, once you've set all this stuff up, you know, you don't have to do it again. So you can say, right, I always want my columns to have that gap. So now that we've done that globally, every time I add a column, whether it's a 2 column, 4 column, what have you, it's going to have that 50 or 60 pixel gap, whatever I left out, 60. So, you know, that's really useful. You don't have to kind of add your column, then go, right, I want that gap again, or go, right, I better go here, and then, you know, copy the styling from this column and then paste it onto this column. It's already set, so you don't have to touch it ever again. Just build out your site. And yes, it's really useful. So that's kind of the global settings. So what I am going to do is actually set it up properly for what I want, and you know, we'll do another video looking at building out, finishing building out the header, and we need to build out a footer. And then we'll start looking at building out our home page. And I mean, basically what I'm going to do is essentially recreate our site, because it needs redesigning anyway. And that way you get a kind of a real perspective as a beginner to breakdance, because like I said in my last video, we have used Elementor exclusively for the last few years. We've touched on Oxygen a bit. We've had a little play around with bricks, but nothing massively really. We've just kind of had a quick nosy, and that's about it. Although I did build our site out in Oxygen probably last year, just to kind of get a feel. So yeah, so for anyone that is kind of looking to possibly purchase Breakdance, and I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. In fact, as I said in my other video, I was dead against even looking at Breakdance, just purely because of how it came about, and there's plenty of videos and discussion about that. As soon as I was aware of that situation and where Breakdance came from, I kind of thought, you know what, I'm not even touching that. Not a chance, just because of the kind of way it happened. But it has some really cool features, which is brilliant. One of the things, or a couple of the things that I really love, is that you're editing stuff in the builder, and instead of like where in Elementor you say you've done with this page for a minute, you need to go back and go into a different page. You have to exit, go back to the admin, find the page or the template. Whereas here in Breakdance, you can literally just switch straight away into any page, any template. Just go straight in and start editing whatever you like, which is so awesome. And again, I haven't actually checked this out, but there is an option to add. I don't know what you would do, but you can basically add stuff from other pages. Library, I think. Yes, you've got your library for Breakdance, but then if you go to this website, you can then choose. Okay, so might be a bit of a bug there somewhere. You can then choose elements from your own pages. So if I'm creating a page and I go, I could really do with that section that's on so-and-so page, you can literally do that. You don't have to kind of go to that other page, then save that section as a template, then go back to the other page, then import that template into the page. You can literally just go to the library, this website, search the page you want to pull stuff from, and then you can just go, right, okay, I want to add this to the page. I love that feature, and it's stuff like that kind of made me go, do you know what, I'm going to have to look at Breakdance. So yeah, that's it for this video. As always, please like my videos, subscribe, it really helps. It's something that I've been trying to do for a while, is the YouTube stuff as part of our business and part of us just generally helping the WordPress community. And I just haven't really had time to do it, but I'm trying to put more time to it now, so I would really appreciate it, because it really does help people liking and commenting and sharing and what have you. So I will see you in the next one.